was contacted by a company to review their headphones, and when they contacted me, I told them that I really don't review headphones on the channel because I really don't think they're really video game related. But this company insisted that I take a look at this because they believed that their headphones were really good for gamers. And they were right. I'm a big fan of headphones. I like to use them all the time when I'm playing video games, usually late at night, sometimes when I want to hear something very specific, or when I'm listening to a really good video game soundtrack. Headphones to me are the best way to hear the audio from your games. And for me, I picked out a really cheap pair of headphones that have been kind of doing their job recently. But this company called Meze sent me a pair of headphones that they said would sound better than those. So today, we're going to be taking a look at the Classic 73. This is a pair of headphones that cost significantly more than my $20 headphones, but they promise to be a whole heck of a lot better. So the first thing I did to test out the headphones was I sat down and listened to the soundtrack to Earthbound. Earthbound's soundtrack has a lot of really rich textures that were really good to hear and listen to with these headphones. Now I've listened to this soundtrack a couple of times with little earbuds. Every song you listen to on Earthbound will sound 1,000 times better with these headphones. There's a much more warm texture to everything, and it kind of just has a much louder, fuller sound. It's something that you really don't get with earbuds and is easily an improvement. The next thing I did was, well, I just played a whole bunch of video games. I played a bunch of indie games like Papers, Please, and a couple of old first-person shooters like Rise of the Triad, and a bunch of new first-person shooters, and just a bunch of games in general that had really loud sounds. I was able to distinguish a bunch of different sounds that, to be honest, I've never really heard before when playing some of my games. Simply because when I'm playing games, I usually use the big speakers in front of my TV, which doesn't really work as well as a pair of headphones that are kind of signaling out a bunch of individual sounds. This is a really good way to play a bunch of games that you've probably never really listened to the sounds of before. The one thing that sucks is that there isn't a microphone attached to the headset, which I was kind of okay with, because while I do need a microphone to play some online games, I just pretty much use the microphone that was attached to my webcam or maybe a desktop one that I already had on my computer, so I wasn't missing it too much. However, if you are one of those gamers that needs a microphone on a headset, you're probably going to want to steer away from these things. Otherwise, these are a really good pair of headphones to pick up to listen to any of the games you play. One of the things I really like a lot about these headphones is that there's a lot of padding over the head and earpieces. This is important because you're going to be wearing these for a long time when you're playing a really long game, and you don't want them to make you feel uncomfortable. And these headphones feel really good against the ears and on the head, and they don't feel really tight. Now I'm going to compare these against my other pair of headphones. These are headphones from Ear Pollution, and believe me, these ones do hurt after a while. After about 2 hours of using them, my ears kind of feel like they're being pressed up against my head and bent too hard, and they really start to hurt. Now these headphones feel really good and the audio is really sharp. Now I've compared them against my plastic headphones, and I don't know if it's the wood cups that do it, but the audio does sound a lot warmer, and it has deeper notes for the bass, which just sounds a lot better overall. One thing we'll mention about these headphones is that they are made of wood, which isn't plastic. So you probably don't want to get these wet all the time. But they do seem to be very robust and very well designed, so I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem over time. Plus, they kind of look nice, so I think you'd be wanting to wear these outside as much as you could. These headphones are really well designed, but I have two issues with them. One, the earpieces aren't really wide enough to cover your entire ear, which is something I kind of prefer. I really like the idea of having the entire cup cover my ear because it just feels more comfortable. Despite that, even though they don't do that, they still feel plenty comfortable, and they manage to knock out a lot of the exterior audio in the rooms that I use them in. Plus, another thing I don't enjoy is that these little pieces here that don't extend very far, so if you have a gigantic head, well, you're not going to be able to get these over your entire ear, which really sucks. Regardless though, if you have a head that's about as big as mine, you'll be able to fit these on your head pretty comfortably, and they work pretty well. I can't hear myself anymore. So a couple of years ago, I went to purchase a pair of headphones that were gaming headphones, and when I went to go put them on my head, the top part here snapped because it was entirely made of plastic. I believe they were called Gamecom headphones or something like that, and I was pretty pissed off. Now these headphones here will not break. These expand a heck of a lot, And it's really great too, because the ports at the bottom here go on the bottom, so there's no lines going through the top here, so there's no reason to basically protect that piece. This is a very good function for these kind of headphones. Now remember, if the line breaks, you just replace it. That's not a big deal. The big problem is having anything in there that can snap or break because you can't access this. But from what I can see here, these are really high quality, well-made headphones. Perfectly engineered for people that are big audiophiles.